And we are live, and I just now realized that something is not straight here. How do we do this? You know, I'm sitting here for half an hour getting this ready, and I'm not framed properly. I must have been moving around or something while I was getting ready. But we've got a bunch of people in the room: DePaul, of course, Oscar, Joel, Drew, and more. Joel also in the room, and Pete. Thank you very much for checking in, my friends. It's a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. Here in Michigan, it's 73 degrees. It's a bit cloudy, but a little bit of a breeze. We got rain yesterday and last night. Thunderstorms blew through, but it's a gorgeous day right now. And so I am going to have to cut today short. We're starting at approximately 1-ish, and we'll end about 2:30, not 3, only because I got someplace important to be, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. Because if I don't wait, I'm gonna get a lot of people going, what's going on? What's going on? So we'll wait a little bit. Drew God says, I watched the movie White Tiger that you suggested. Great movie. And by the way, and just so you know, I'm not saying White Tiger is a great documentary. It's not. It's a movie. You can find it, I believe, on Amazon Prime. And it's a World War II movie shot in Russia, told from a very, very Russian viewpoint. And I'm not going to ruin it for you, but if you're interested in World War II stuff, but it's the hero myth set in a Russian army tank. And it's such a fascinating story that, it's fiction, but somebody came up with this idea that I find so fascinating. I've watched the movie a couple times. It's in Russian, but it's subtitled. So I enjoyed it. I think you might too. Mogs is checking in. Hi, Steve. I'm assuming it's Mogs, like a Moog synthesizer. Could be wrong. Mitten State Media. Hello, good peoples. And I'm guessing Mitten State is Michigan. Jeff, Mr. Fix-It. Hi, Steve. STP World. How come I'm not important? It depends. Is that STP for the oil treatment, or is that Stone Temple Pilots? No, I'm just kidding. I'll get to you. Locutus. Hi from Jersey Channel Islands. Oh, cool. Checking in from the islands, my friend. I appreciate that. Howlin' Wolf. Oh, hey, Steve. Good to see you. We love your video so much. Thank you. And Laura Thompson checking in from Beaumont, Texas. NWK Russ, or it could be NW Cross, or it could be Northwest Cross. I don't know. Sometimes no one tells me these things. Or get Nicole High from Madeira Island, Portugal. Portugal also checking in from the islands, I guess. Thank you for checking in. I love to see that we've got a reach around the whole world. Quigglebird says, saw it. I was watching a documentary about the Golan Heights, but this is worth showing up for, I reckon. And you know something, those Golan Heights will still be there when we're done here. Piper John, greetings from Florida. Mr. Landfill, hi, how is everyone? I believe everyone is doing quite good. And I literally just touched the thing and it jumped. And by thing, I mean my mouse roller wheel. Piper John, greetings from Florida. Mr. Landfill, hi, how's everybody? Chuck Whitehead, good afternoon from Jonesboro, Tennessee. Side branches, hello, Steve. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I am so far. G. Keyman, hello, Steve Lehto, and all the rest. G. Keyman checking in from the Thumb of Michigan. Michael L. Bella Tiger. Alan Zelinsky, good afternoon. Attorney Lehto from Salem, Ohio. Salem. Ed G, hello from the Poconos. Beautiful part of the country there. Jeff Peak, hello from Ohio. Gorilla Strength Equipment, hey, from Kentucky. And good morning, Steve, from the Oregon coast. Scott Argyle. What word did I say was a town out there? And I said Bellingham. And somebody goes, no, Steve, it is Bellingham. It is Bellingham. Valerie Ann, hey now, how is everyone today? Oscar Padron, hello from Miami. B Demon checking in from Kenmore, Washington. Kenmore, a great brand name there, but I don't know if they are what they used to be. Andrew Barsky, greetings from China. Wow, helps with the occasional homesickness of America's shenanigans. I assume you're in China on business and not as a political prisoner. Nova 73 guy, good afternoon from Baytown, Texas. The prodigal stranger, scientifically treated. I'd never heard that for STP, but I guess. Pat Z, hi, Stephen Minions from Southern Texas. STP World says, no, those are my actual initials. Tom Raitt says Sisu was awesome. And Sisu is another war movie I recommended. Sisu, of course, is a Finnish war movie shot entirely in Well, I don't know if it's shot entirely in Finland, but all the actors are Finnish. The dialogue is in Finnish. And it's from a very, very pro-Finnish point of view. It's over the top. It's just a tad violent, but I've saved it on my DVD, on my DVR, and I've watched it so many times. It's a slow day. Do we watch Michigan, Ohio State from last year, or do we watch Sisu? It's a toss up. Every other day, that's what I watch when I'm bored. Mitten State Medius is watching from Michigan, or AKA Marxist Michigan. Hello. Mein Kampf. Hello, my people. Benjamin Lewis, I watched that movie too. It's great. Which one? Sisu or White Tiger? Sarah Evelyn, hello from Idaho. And I feel sorry for people in Idaho, because quite often people, say, when they're trying to think of a state that's just obscure, they go, and I don't know, Idaho. Kind of like the people from Kalamazoo, Michigan feel. Like if you're from Kalamazoo, just a name people like to say. Toe Twacker? About to go put a replacement airbag in my dad's 4-car Carrier rollback. Sounds like fun. Hope you got good weather for it. Stumblefoot News, hello from the cornfields of Indiana. Yeah, we got cornfields here in Michigan too. You drive by 75, there's big stretches of just cornfields. It's just amazing. Pete Nikolich, North Shropshire, UK here. Most Americans only know of Shropshire as a joke from Bugs Bunny, the Shropshire Slasher. And I don't know if that had any actual meaning, or if it was simply because they wanted to use a word that had the SH sound in it twice. Marco Tkach, hello from Port Richey, Florida. I know where that is. Thomas Caldwell, 74, from Medellin, Colombia. We try to say it like the locals if we can without hurting ourselves or embarrassing ourselves. Philip Langlois, hi from San Jose, California. Do you know the way? Bill McMahon, greetings from Mounds View, Minnesota. Hello, Steve from Washington State, 411 now. Quigglebert is deep in the farmland in the UK. Scott Keller's upstate New York. I just love seeing where everyone's checking in from, because it's just the internet still interests me. It amazes me. Chuck Whitehead, the Smithsonian Channel, has a lot of war documentaries of real video shot. Smithsonian's got some very, very cool stuff. And I've got that channel on my cable system. And so I'm familiar with a lot of what they do. And what's amazing is the U.S. government shot a lot of footage and created a lot of footage from the war. And a lot of it's public domain because it was shot by the government. So you can find a lot of that stuff. There's actually an entire archive. I forgot the archive's location. But there's an archive where you can go and find all this public domain stuff. And there's tons and tons and tons of government stuff from World War II that is fun to look through. And it's a slice of time because, there'll be this deep-voiced guy. And it's like there's one guy, and it's like, the Normandy invasion took place, and it's like the voice of God narrating. Witch on Fire. Love watching your content and loves watching it so much that made this comment here, which has been highlighted. I so greatly appreciate that, and I do appreciate that. And so thank you very much for the compliment. It's funny because some people might go, Steve, is it redundant for someone to tell you I watch your videos and I like your content? No, it's not. I get people go, I hate your videos and I watch them every day. It's like the old Woody Allen joke. The food's horrible and the servings are so small. Carbon Dave, have you heard that Eastern Oregon wants to become part of Idaho? I've heard that. Every now and then you hear about that where, state lines that were laid out like 200 years ago, 150 years ago. Somebody wants to redraw them because hey, we're in the wrong state. There's a time when people in Toledo would have told you that too. Reinhard Man, hey, how's it going? And Jeff 1618, hi from the strawberry fields of Southern California. There's strawberry fields in Michigan too, and there's of course strawberry fields in Central Park. But strawberry fields in Michigan where they go, it's you pick. We'll give you a basket. You go pick them, and this is the fun part. You get to pick your own. You come back here and you weigh them, and then you pay us for them. And it's like, wait, I'd rather have someone else pick them, and I'll pay them, right? I did it one time. And it was a long, long time ago. And it was a woman I'd met who said, it'll be fun for a first date. I think that was the only date we went next. I'm like, that wasn't fun. I wasn't that old yet. But it's like, I remember my back hurts. Now I see why you hire someone to pick your strawberries for you. Because the strawberry plants are really close to the ground. Dave Rogers, I love your show. Greetings from Wichita. Ever been to Wichita? No, I have not. I have not been to Wichita. I apologize. Doug Clem says, Steve, buddy, did you get a divorce? Your surroundings look poor. Well, my surroundings are a studio. This is not where I live. I don't sleep there and bathe there and then eat over there. Okay. So sorry. Alan Brown's also in Oregon. Billy Stamey's in Monroe, Louisiana. It could be Monroe. I like saying Monroe for some weird reason. It's one of those words I have to tell myself to pronounce it correctly if it matters. Flex 59. Hi, Steve. Felix from Glendale, Queens, New York. G Vogt checking in from Albuquerque. And every time I hear the name Albuquerque, I think of The Simpsons, where the baseball team was going to ship their baseball team down to Albuquerque, and Homer found out about it. And so to make him less credible, they got him really, really drunk, knowing he wouldn't be believed if he tried saying, hey, I found out they're going to move the isotopes to Albuquerque. And one day he says something and he goes, wait. He goes, from time to time, I'll be quirky. Albuquerque, they're moving the team. And that's what made him remember that. So from time to time, I'll be quirky. Albuquerque. Andrew Lee from Nome, Alaska. The musk ox have birthed their kids. I want to give those cute little guys piggyback rides. I wore the shirt on camera the other day that says, do not pet the fluffy cows. And it was a buffalo. Someone sent that into me. And I had so many people asking me where I got it from. I'm like, I think if you Google it, you can find it for sale on the internet. But it's pretty funny. Do not pet the fluffy cows. I suspect you do not want to go over and pick up a musk ox baby and bring it over to your car for a photograph and then planning on bringing it back. I don't think that'd be a good idea. Kurt Wetzel says, Steve, do a live video on a story. That'd be fun. I've done premieres, but it'd be kind of, I think, boring for me to be reading a story. And what do I do? Like go back and forth or something? Gilbert says, go up to Gaylord to Grayling. You got me. It's misspelled. Go up to Gaylord to Grayling and pick blueberries for free. Oh, there's blueberries. I'll tell you right now, Gilbert, you should know this. Thimbleberries in the Copper Country. You can go to the Keweenaw Peninsula for a week or two in August, and they've got these berries that make raspberries look puny. They're huge. They call them thimbleberries because they're the size of thimbles, and they're good, and they're everywhere, and they're really easy to spot because they've got leaves this big. Put the bottom hand on screen there. They got leaves this big, so you look for those bushes in season, and I mean, I'm not making this up. My brothers and I have been up there visiting, and we see a thimbleberry patch, and we'd be on our bicycles. You put your bike on the ground and you go over and you're eating these things like it's like a kid in a candy store, but they're free. It's everywhere. But it's just for a couple of weeks, and it's basically one small stretch of the Keweenaw Peninsula. I don't even know if they exist anyplace else in the UP. I've only seen them in the Keweenaw, but I think I might have seen them over by Big Bay and Thunder Bay. So I say Big Bay because that's what they called it in the movie. But anyways, Lewis Browning, Steve, love the scam emails you get. The trolls you bash are great also. Yeah, I did the video. I put it on the Vault channel about the guy who sent me the email about how wrong I was to suggest that a case that happened in a Michigan court actually happened in Michigan. And I had a couple people go, Steve, it was a bit over the top of you to do that. And some people actually said you should ignore those people. I ignore most of them. But the ones I actually thought it was funny because it was so far. This guy's saying you should check your facts, and he got all of his facts wrong. Oh, Salmon Berry's coming on now. Scott Argyle. Tigerman 99515 says, you pick them is what you do when you have kids. They eat as much as they pick. Yeah, the question is, do they really? I mean, I guess they have to kind of just assume that's the cost of doing business, right? Where little kids are going to put half of them in their mouth. But, I assume it's cheaper than hiring people to do it for you. Juan Peralta, Steve, how many U.S. constitutional amendments before a new constitution is necessary? That's an interesting question. And many people are going to say, well, there's no limit, right? You can amend it as many times. And they planned on amending it. I mean, they knew all along it was good. I mean, they passed 10 amendments within 2 years. But the real important thing to understand is that some states have actually gone back and scrapped their original constitution and replaced it with a new one. And Michigan has done it twice. Michigan's on its third constitution. Our current constitution is the Michigan State Constitution of 1963. And they rewrote it because they thought, something, instead of just slapping on a bunch of amendments, let's just rewrite the whole darn thing. And they did. And it's, so, but I don't think the federal constitution would ever get redone, because I think most would say that the bulk of it's okay. It's just these little tweaks that need to be made along the way. So, Daniel Libby, greetings, Steve. Mitten State Media says quite a few places in Michigan where you can pick the berries and pay to do it. Kind of like paying Walmart so you can do self-checkout. It's true. Chris Tope, hi from Blue Ash, Ohio. No relation to Ashtabula, I wonder? Thomas Caldwell, 74. Steve, would you ever consider taking a case or working with the Institute for Justice? Love the stories you share of theirs. They do great things. Hope someday they have a lemon law case for you. It's interesting, and I know that's a compliment, right? But the Institute for Justice has people on staff who are brilliant attorneys who specialize in constitutional law issues. And I try to tell people this, that just because someone's a good doctor, you don't go over and say, "Excuse me, can you look at this thing on my arm?" The guy's gonna go, "I'm a brain surgeon." But you're a good brain surgeon, right? Yeah. Okay, look at this thing on my arm. No, you go to some guy who specializes in the things on your arm. And so they've got a group of people who work there who are excellent. And I'm not belittling myself. And I tell you, they are better at what they do than I would be at trying to do what they do. So I support them, and I'm willing to take the back seat on this one to say, look, I'm not going to go into court and say I'm here on behalf of the Institute for Justice. I'm going to say, everybody support these guys so they can go into court and do battle because they've got such great attorneys. I mentioned before, I went to, they were handling a case here in Michigan, and they got it before the Michigan Supreme Court. I went and watched the oral arguments the day they made them. And their attorney, without question, was brilliant. He was fabulous. I went up to him afterwards and I shook his hand. I said, I just want to let you know, guy's substantially younger than me, substantially. And I said, I have to let you know, you knocked it out of the park. I mean, you were spectacular. His knowledge of the case, his knowledge of the law, he'd be talking and a justice would cut him off and throw some question at him from out of left field. And he would just very, very simply shift gears, answer that question authoritatively, and then move on. I mean, I was blown away. So I support them morally, financially. I ask others to as well. But I won't be in court for them because they've got better people for it. So, oh boy. Grubby old Patriot says, I got a big old laugh out of the person who claimed that all your facts were so wrong. And what's funny is that a couple people also say, Steve, I think this person's messing with you. One thing I forgot to include in that video was the guy gave me his real name. At least he claimed it was his real name. And a signature block indicating like who he was and who he works for and everything. And so I don't think he would have done that if he was just messing with me. So Scrappy, Steve, never knew you went live. What do you think about the one guy who ended up having no license to begin with? Well, I've done 5 videos on him. And I have to admit, I was stunned by that last twist where he never had a license. Like that's one where the bingo card doesn't have a square for it. Like what? And who doesn't get a license? And the guy apparently just didn't have a license, didn't bother getting. He just kept renewing his state ID and then driving. So he got pulled over a couple of times for driving with no license, and his license got suspended. He got pulled over for driving with a license suspended. And some people did ask, how is it possible your license is suspended if you've never had one to begin with? And that's more of a matter of how they do the bookkeeping. Technically it should have been driving, unlicensed driving or something. But I've always heard that they do categorize as driving while license suspended, even though you don't have a license. So, Martha's Madman. Good afternoon from Hot Springs, Arkansas. I just got to say hello because of the cool screen name. Creative Fish Designs, honest man, why I love you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Randoir says, what chair are you using right now? This is one of the Flexi Spot chairs. I did one video about this chair, and then I did one video about a recliner, an actual video where I endorsed them and did a little spiel at the end of the video. And this was the first chair that I did for them. And I'm still using it on a daily basis. I sit in this chair every single day. So I like this chair. Janice Ellery from Fort Lauderdale checking in. Stumblefoot News. Do you trust the ACLU's mission? I'm not sure what their mission statement actually says anymore. Um, my and this I admit is just an anecdotal thing where I'm just going to tell you that this is how I feel personally. I've kind of gotten the impression that the ACLU has drifted off topic or off message. And I like what the Institute for Justice is doing. And I've had some people call me up or message me and say, "Hey, Steve, the Institute for Justice took one case. I don't agree with it." And I always say, well, you don't have to agree with everything they do. But the question is, if you look at what they're doing, do you understand why they're doing it? And does it make sense from the point of a law firm that specializes in helping people go after the government on constitutional law issues? And most everyone I know says they agree with that. And the ACLU used to kind of do that, but they focused on civil liberties, obviously, the American Civil Liberties Union. But it seems to me that the only time you heard about them in the news was that they're helping some extreme group hold a rally in some really, really inappropriate place. And I'm not going to give examples, but I mean, I can think of a few where a lot of people are going, okay, I guess I kind of understand what they're doing, but do I want to support that? And that's the thing, So Stephen Lara, the Marine who got pulled over out west and had $75,000 in cash taken off of him for no reason, and the cop even said, "Well, I'm going to take your money now." I didn't accuse him of anything. When they take that case, shouldn't you support that? Who doesn't support that? Now, here's the thing. Once in a while I get an email from someone who goes, "Steve, you have to allow civil asset forfeiture because it's the way you fight crime." I know I don't. I don't have to, that's like saying the police should be able to arrest anyone at any time and hold them for 7 days because they can fight crime that way. Yeah, but it would also be a violation of civil rights, and constitutional rights. So I like the Institute for Justice, and I think they're almost in a lot of ways an updated version of the ACLU. Georgiana Thornton says, "I love your book. Thank you. I appreciate it very much." I assume you're talking about the American Murder Houses, which is the one we've been talking about so much lately. BW says, "Some people have so many fines they can't afford to get a license anymore." And I have a comment on that because I've had a lot of people say that, and I've kind of bumped on the topic a couple times in videos. I didn't get heavily, but I've seen it before. And I told the story about the woman we saw come into court, plead guilty, driving on a license suspended. Judge goes, "Why is your license suspended?" She said, "I've got some unpaid tickets." The judge goes, "Okay, can you pay today's ticket?" She goes, "Yes." He goes, "Okay, go pay today's ticket." Then he goes, "And then take care of your other stuff and get your license back." And so she paid her ticket, went out, got in her car, and drove away. And we saw her do it because there's a window at the back of the courtroom. And I've seen somebody on more than one occasion tell a court, "I can't get my license reinstated because I've got these oppressive fines." And I can tell you that every court I've ever been in, if you said to the judge, "I can't afford these fines," if the judge says, "I'm required by law to impose them," like there's no discretion. If you found guilty of this, you must pay this fine. They are allowed to cut you slack on when you pay them. And so let's say, "Okay, we'll let you pay over time. How much can you pay?" And so if you owe $300, they might say, "Okay, can you pay $50 for 6 months? Could you pay 25 for 12?" And they don't tack interest on or anything like that. They'll work it out for you. And so I have a harder time feeling sorry for somebody who says, "I can't afford it, but I didn't tell that to the court, or I didn't ask for any, leeway." And if you ask, you might get it. Now, if you ask for the leeway and you don't get it, then yeah, complain all you want. And by the way, I'm all ears on that. But the point I have is that I've had people tell me they went into court and they were hit with a fine. They couldn't pay it, so they went out for driving some more, and they got hit with another fine. And that kept happening, and it becomes a vicious cycle. So there you go. Bill McMahon says, "I wonder if the guy who didn't have a license didn't get one because he couldn't because he has physical problems or eye problems or possibly seizures. That's a possibility. That is, I don't know. That's a speculation because he claims that he's going to get a license, so we'll see. We'll see. Oh, hang on a second. Now it froze up on me again. There we go. Jay Klein, I'll be here for a bit, but we're headed out west on vacation this evening. See you in a couple weeks. AJS, can you sue Disney for making bad movies? Don't you wish? No, what you do is you don't go see the movies. You vote with your wallet. And they put up bad movies, you just don't go to see them. Ed G says, Steve, the lady that called the police on herself, she had split personalities. Maybe one called on behalf of the other one, but they could both get in trouble. Yeah, and I'm convinced that I don't know about her, but a lot of the stories involving these really, really out there stories are people who are either mentally ill or they're impaired in some way, whether it's on drugs or on alcohol or something like that. So you never know. Rick Simon, hi Steve. I'm the Michigan trucker who got booted. The carrier held my pay for $22.25. I can't find an employment lawyer to help me get my final pay. What should I do? I would look for a local lawyer because it's a non-payment of wages is not that complicated of a case. It's not really an employment issue, so much as simply a contract issue. So, if you shoot me an email and remind me, I'll see what I can help you out with. Emmanuel Guerra says Vin Wiki stories soon. I will get down there. I've got a list of stories I'm going to tell on his channel. He's invited me back. I did 11 the first time. I'll do 5 or 10 the second time. And then I'll be on his channel again. Gary Weisenberger, then he should not be driving. And in Michigan, with no fault, he would be at fault for any accident that he is in. Yes, and make it worse, if he hits you, you've been hit by an uninsured driver. And he's not going to be collectible. Speaking hypothetically here. So Mrs. Teresa, 1999 says, I had a friend who used to always have IDs, not licenses. The state accidentally sent her a license when she was renewing her ID one time. That's possible, but I'll tell you right now, you wonder what would happen if a police officer had called in that license. Would it have shown? So Chris Sanders checking in from Virginia. Daniel Zarnecki checking in from McHenry, Illinois. McHenry. Was there someone named Henry or was there someone named McHenry? They got named after. Oh, Sam Martin, have you ever heard of a landlord making it mandatory to give you or to give your Wi-Fi username and password? What's the landlord? I've not heard of that. I assume they want to do that so they can use it. Or they're going to claim they're going to do that so they make sure that you don't do anything bad with it. But that seems a little crazy. Dan Ritchie, can I sue my father-in-law for sticking me with a lemon? I think the divorce law is all about. Once in a while, I get this static in my headphones. I don't know if it's coming through the microphone or not. If I touch the microphone, it goes away. So obviously static is building up inside. This is a Nessie Blue. And I just accidentally touched, there's a mute button. And now you can. So Chuck Whitehead, try to invite an Institute for Justice rep on your videos. I could. I just don't have the setup right now to bring in guests on my show. So Stuff Writer, how come you haven't visited Finland yet? I don't speak Finnish and I'm scared. I understand that legally that you can go someplace you don't speak the language, but practically it can be uncomfortable walking around not knowing what any of the signs mean. And I understand that a lot of Finns speak English. My mother went there dozens of times. My father's been there dozens of times. I've just never been there. Bob Simmons is checking in from Rising Fawn, Georgia. Rising Fawn. I wonder if it's a native name or did somebody actually put those two words together for a reason? Like, did they arrive in town? The first thing they saw was a fawn rising, which gets us back to a joke that's too dirty for me to tell about where do names come from. Rob's neighbor checks in from New Glarus, Wisconsin. Reinhardman says no static here. So the static might just be in the earbuds. That very well could be. Are we there yet? Says Lehto is Finnish. It means grove. Yes, like in a grove of trees. My father has done our genealogy for the Lehto side, going back to I think the 1500s, 1600s, and the full name used to be Johann Lehto, but it was longer. And when my grandfather joined the military, they said, we don't care what you want to do, but you can't have that entire name in the army. Pick a half. So he went with Lehto. Oh. Free the Birds is my apartment. Send me an illegible e-copy of my lease and will charge me for a paper copy. What would you recommend? That's crazy. They want you to actually abide by a written lease, and they will not give you a hard copy of it. That seems unfair. I don't know if there's actually a law. You have to check your state law to see the state law. They have to give you a hard copy of your lease. Jesse Zink, the static is all in your head. Well, it goes away when I touch that, though. Somebody else asked about metal detecting in England. I've not, but I know they find all kinds of really cool stuff over there. Stefan Trathan from Austria. What's the story behind the copper element block? There's a block of copper on the set behind me, and it's a perfect cube of copper, except that it's engraved on one side with the CU and all the element stuff. And it's simply because I have a lot of stuff on the set behind me from copper, regarding copper, because the Upper Peninsula of Michigan is called the Copper Country. And so I've got copper ingots from mines and even a dues booklet for a union member to pay his dues back in 1913 during the strike. So I'm a big fan of the element of copper. Brandon Mitchell, appreciate your content. Steve, have a great rest of your day. James Starkey checking from Abilene, Texas. And Kelmargarita, hi, Steve, checking in from the traffic circle. Mile Zero, Alaska Highway Trucking. Mile Zero, they got one up at that end too. I've seen the Mile Zero down at the Key West at the bottom of I-75. Bob Simmons says Rising Fawn legend has it. It was coined by a Cherokee chief in the 1800s. Matthew Shostrom, out of curiosity, how many legal demands get satisfied with just a simple demand letter? I can't speak to this. I don't do them. I personally don't think they're that effective, especially the other side has an attorney. So let's suppose that you bought a defective widget from a widget dealer, and they're a big dealer and they've got corporate. You send them a threatening letter. They send it to their corporate attorney who goes, oh, a threatening letter. Call me when they sue us, and they chuck it. And they might respond to it by sending you back a counter threat, such as we'll see you in court. Have a nice day. But I've never, I hate to say never. I might have once or twice in my entire 33-year career sent out a demand letter where I thought something was so clear cut that if anybody looks at this with an ounce of brain cells, they'll take care of this. But I have people all the time who want to hire me to send demand letters on behalf of defective cars they bought. And I'm like, no, because if I'm going to send a demand letter and say, I'm going to sue you, I need to actually be in a position where I plan on suing you. And I'm not going to file a lawsuit against a used car dealer that sold a defective used car in Michigan, because that's like, I'm going to go out and not shoot fish in a barrel. I'm going to go out in a lake and try to shoot the water. I mean, it's everywhere. Steely Dan, FM, no static at all. DePaul, thank you very much. G. Volk says the color of my new Lexus RX is called copper. Surprised it doesn't have a sexier name like cinnamon copper or something, you know? MHOA says I just got 6 copper cups from Woodford Reserve. A bit of truth says, Steve, I worked with my ex for years on ED matters. Often FLSA demand letters were satisfied 30% of the time because there's few defenses. There are probably some fields where it does work better, but it ain't going to work in my field where people bought defective cars because, among other things, I mean, Rachel Hall caught part of the live finally. Happy 72-442. Do you have a 72-442? Is that what's going on here? Sam Martin says my wife's last name originally was Kills White Buffalo. During World War I, her great grandfather's name was shortened to Killer, and is now what the surname is. I'm surprised he didn't go with Buffalo, because I mean that's a more common name. People of the state of California, LLC, says, well, we have lemon laws in the state of California. All 50 states do. It's just a question of whether or not they apply to used cars, new cars, RVs, what they cover. Oscar Padron says mile 0 in Key West is on US 1. But I believe, doesn't US 1 and I-75, don't they merge and continue down? Or is I wrong about that? David Oliver Smith says, Steve, sometimes a statute requires a demand letter before filing suit. It's not necessarily a demand letter. It's more of a letter of notice, a notice. I mean, don't get me wrong. They probably have similar things, but the law will often say, before you can do this, you must send them notice. Great example of that is to sue somebody from in Michigan for defamation. Suppose someone slandered you. You can send them a letter and demand a retraction. But the retraction demand is simply putting them on notice that you have a claim against them. And if they don't retract, you are going to seek punitive damages and attorney fees and court costs. Likewise, the Lemon Law has a last chance letter. But the last chance letter is a notification to let them know they got one last chance to fix your car. But it doesn't have to say we want a new car. It says we want to have the car fixed. So, yeah, notice is one thing. But demand letters, what we're talking about is when people call me up and say, Steve, will you, I jokingly call them hate mail. People will call me up and say, Steve, can I pay you to write a letter to somebody and tell them we're going to sue them if they don't do this? And I'm like, no, because number one, I'm not going to sue them. And I hate to put stuff in letters that isn't true. And number two, they're not effective. Because I've had clients tell me, they go, Steve, I just got this letter. And I go, okay, call me when they sue you. Oh, Big Bad John says, what do you think of the new Attorney Shield app? I'm not that familiar with it, so I really can't speak to it. I'd have to take a look at it and figure that out. Josh Keaton, is this like a live stream version of the videos you upload throughout the week? No, this is just a live stream. I come on here and for about an hour and a half or so, or 2 hours, I just talk about stuff and answer questions in the comments and so on. And by the way, I'll let you know now, I'm going to stop in about an hour, 2:30. And the reason is I've got this really cool opportunity. And I'll tell you guys, because I'm in a room here with my 816 closest friends, but a guy who watches my channel contacted me and said, Steve, I'm in this band. And we tour internationally. And we're going to be in Detroit. Would you like to come see us play? And I said, sure, I'd love to. So I'm going to see a band play tonight. And they're really, really good. And the guitar player watches Lehto's Law. So I'll report more on it afterwards, but it sounds like it's going to be a good time, and I can't pass that up, especially because the guy is from Australia. So he's from Australia, and he's decided to let me come see the show. So there you go. John the Beagle Dad, Steve Lehto Hales, good afternoon. I love Judge Simpson and Judge Fleischer. I'm not familiar with Fleischer, but I am familiar, of course, with Simpson. PB asks, do you feel that Lexus and AI will slowly chip away at the attorney profession? No. Because of the fact that ChatGPT and so on still hallucinates cases. I mean, it might get rid of some of the clerk type stuff, or maybe writing a first draft of something, but lawyers have still got to go through it, and so. Rachel Hall, I wish I loved your show about the lady at the little shop across the street from you back when our dogs know about bacon too. Yeah, that's a video put up on the Vault channel about the woman who passed away, and in the little town that I used to live in. And so now someone's got me checking this, because I was under the impression that technically speaking, I-75 ran down to the Keys, and someone just said that I-75 technically ends in Miami. So I see 95 there. I see 75 cutting across. I see 75 cutting down. And yeah, very well could be. I apologize. So it works out the same way because these roads all connect, right? Bill McMahon's heading out in his Mustang GT. Convertible. See you later. I hope so. Uh, Martha's Madman says Garland County does charge $10 for every week you don't get your fine paid off. So if it's $300 and you pay $20 a week, they tack on $10. So, they're like loan sharks. That's what you're telling me. The juice is running. Don't know. Now a curmudgeon says, why wear earbuds in a one-way conversation? I assume you're referring to these. So I can hear myself and know that my microphone's working. Because a few seconds ago, I wouldn't have known I'd done that if I hadn't had the earbuds in place. Plus, I worked in radio. When I have a microphone near my face, I like to know roughly how I'm sounding. Teflon Don says, Women's USA basketball making a huge mistake. What are we referring to? I don't follow women's basketball all that much. I know, of course, they just signed that woman who was a big record setter in college, and I know that she's getting a kind of rough treatment. And some people are saying, "Yeah, welcome to the big leagues." So don't know, but you can enlighten me. I'd love to hear about that. Oh, it jumped on me again. Why does it do this to me? Oh, Rick Simon, I just sent you an email. Booted trucker. Okay, I'll look for that. Thank you. I'll check for it in about an hour. Oh, Keith Donaldson, are you in Michigan or Florida? Well, I'm in Michigan. I've been to Florida. I've taken my picture next to that zero sign, but T-Cash, do you ever watch Judge Middleton live on YouTube out of Kalamazoo? Of course. Yes. A hometown hero. Be Demon, enjoy the rest of your day, Steve. Until next time, adieu. I appreciate that. Devin Ruckus says, I keep getting airbag recall notices for a car I junked for scrap 3+ years ago. Any way to get them to stop? Did you turn in the title with the scrap vehicle? Because some states, when you scrap a vehicle, you can take the title and write scrap on it and file it with the state. And the state will make a note of this vehicle was scrapped, which will, number one, helpfully stop those notices, hopefully. And then number two, will also make it so that if somebody decides to unscrap the vehicle and put it on the road, some warning flags will go up. So I mentioned that I had a 02 Ford Explorer years ago that had 237,000 miles on it, and I scrapped it. And I actually wrote scrap on the title and did everything necessary to get it out of my name. So if there was any notices for that vehicle, I won't get them anymore because it's on record for being scrapped. Crazy Old Fart says, Youpers are above the bridge, trolls are below, which make me a troll. But, my family's from the Upper Peninsula, so I like to think I'm an honorary member. Joe H., when are you going to do a collaboration with Illegal Eagle? I've never met or corresponded with him. He's somebody, I'm aware of him. He's got a huge channel, but I am not that familiar. I mean, I'm not friends with him. There's some guys on the internet that I know very well, like, Ed Bolian and Sam Crack and others who I've corresponded with and talked on the phone with, and but I don't know him. So it might be a while. Chuck Whitehead, has there ever been a lawyer sue lawyer case you heard of? Oh yeah, it happens all the time. In fact, lawyers, I know some lawyers who will sue you if you just look at them wrong. I mean, I literally know lawyers who, if you said, how many lawsuits has that lawyer filed where they're representing themselves? I bet it's in the hundreds of lawsuits they just filed. Every time they get mad at somebody, they sue them. It's like the one, was it a judge? But out of DC where the one guy sued because his pants didn't get pressed right and he wanted $1 billion. Oh, DG1, have you ever been stopped while video recording for public? I don't do video recording in public very often. And when I do, it's usually something like in my own yard. So no. Bob blah blah says every state starts miles at 0 at the southern tip and counts north. The northern mile marker should be how long it is. I think you're right, but somebody said that they were at mile 0 in Alaska, and I wonder if they just put that there's kind of like an indicator, like, by the way, this is the end of the line one way or the other. Who knows? LRG says, Steve, 75 goes down the Gulf side of Florida. I knew that. The Florida Turnpike and 95 merge somewhere below Miami, but US 1 goes from Maine to Key West as the oldest highway in the US. Yeah, I knew that too, but I always assumed, you know, how a lot of highways overlap for a while, like US 23 and 75 are on top of each other technically for a while. Then they separate back out. They come back together again. And I always just assumed that when 75 merged with one that it would still be 75, but it's been a long time since I was there, so Kalikaku Kutan says, "Are you a speed reader?" No. You said you read regularly from a young age, and what's the current book you're reading? Um, well, I'm currently reading a book. It's called Radio Days. It's on the history of FM radio in Cleveland that a viewer sent in. It's fascinating. I don't read a lot necessarily, but I will read 5 to 10 pages a night. I often read right before going to bed. And if I have a good book going, I might read faster than that. But I've read a lot of books lately. Lately, I've been doing a lot of biographies and autobiographies, a bunch of music stuff, autobiographies of musicians. I love those. I love war books, especially if you can find me an autobiography of somebody who's in a war. I've read a lot of those. And over my reading career, going back to when I was in first or second grade, I've read a lot of stuff. But the funniest part of all was when I was talking about libraries. And my mother was a librarian, so that, you know, obviously hits very close to home. But one of the things that actually struck me as I said it during the video, and later I'm like, oh my gosh, that didn't even occur to me. I could literally name for you probably 50 books I read in elementary school. I bet I could. I bet I could. And so think about the impact of that. You know, I read a book called Follow My Leader, which was a children's book about a kid who's blind and has a leader dog. And it was a fabulous book. At least I thought so. And it helped me understand, you know, the fact that there's blind children out there like me and what they had to go through. I wouldn't have thought about that stuff without reading that book. And I also remembered reading a book called EO of the Caves, EO of the Caves. And it was a fictional fantasy type book about what it'd be like to be a child growing up in the age of cave living, cave dwelling. And I've actually looked these books up before. And they're still out there. They're still in print. Rascal, the book about the raccoon, that is a great book. And so I've read so many of those books. And the fact that that's the impact they made on me. And so I've always had a soft spot in my heart for libraries. And the sad part is that I had somebody go, libraries are for boomers. Don't you guys realize that you can get every single book you want on your phone? Don't you realize that? I'm trying to hold it up and it's plugged in. don't you don't you realize you can get every book you want on your phone? Yeah, and I'd have to read it on my phone. And by the way, I'd like to go to a library and check it out and read it hard copy. That makes me a boomer. I guess I am. By the way, technically I am. So oh, Ghost 8655. Can you explain unrealized capital gains tax proposal? No. I mean, I'm guessing I could probably guess what it is, but I would never go any place near a tax law question. I took one class on tax law in law school and vowed beyond doing my own taxes, that's all I ever want to think about. Oh, Robert Burke, have you ever or would you ever own a hybrid car? Sure, I don't care. I like the idea of not having to pay to put gas in a car, and I realize a hybrid car would have a gasoline component. But I'm simply saying the idea, just the idea, okay? And people get mad at me. Oh my God, Steve, you hate gasoline-powered cars. No, I don't. I've got 4 of them right now, okay? but I don't I wouldn't mind having a car that ran on electricity. I could plug it in when I wanted to, you know. So hybrid, yeah, that seems like a great idea also. Captain Walter Edwards and the name that was not taken. Books are better and books rock. Rex Foucher, do you think the shine of EVs is going to fade? Well, it is fading, unfortunately, for the people who are gambling on it not, where the sales curve went up kind of sharply and started leveling off, and they didn't think it was going to level off as swiftly as it did. Scott Driver, sauna time. Sauna, isn't it always sauna time if you got one? Terry VG, just the heart. Steve, I appreciate that. Gilbert says paper books are better for the eyes. I agree. I've read stuff on my phone. I don't. Number one, I don't like to. And there are places where, trust me, you're at an airport, about to get on a plane, okay, and you need to send an emergency text. Oh, a phone works just fine. But if I'm going to send a long, lengthy text to somebody, I'd rather sit at my computer and do it using my keyboard. Again, I got to hold it up over here so you can see it, but I got a keyboard, okay? And so reading something on a screen this big, can you do it? Yes. It is comfortable as reading an actual book? No. And so I'd rather do it that way. Beata Graf of the Hagen says, I can get half a word to show my phone on the good days. Oh, Ghost 8655 says we're in the dark age without the written word. True or false? True. If you look back and study history, the Dark Ages, they will talk about how several things happened to lend themselves to a time period where Western civilization was in the Dark Ages. And one of them was the burning of the library at Alexandria. And there was a library at Alexandria that was allegedly largest collection on earth of written work by man. It had everything in it, and it burned to the ground and took everything with it. And they say that the burning of that library set mankind back. So think of that next time you're belittling a library. MH08 Boomer, why do you use a keyboard or a voice to text? Yes, I've seen voice to text, and I see people mispronouncing things all the time. And I can type pretty quickly, but also for editing videos and so on, I don't even know if voice to text could even do that. So, Corntron says reading from paper is better for comprehension and for brain health. Stephen Lockie says, Steve, have you heard the phrase, don't feed the trolls? Yes, I have. The question, of course, is if you're feeding the trolls and it's funny, I see some value there. Josh Jogminus says a quick hello, then got to go. Been busy, but we'll watch the recording later. Hope all is well with you, Steve. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. 8:15. We got 815 people in the room. Iggy RLK says cat rescue mission, ? And I bet you anything that I'm the only person who knows what he's asking. Maybe a couple people. I jokingly said at the end of the video about the guy caught driving with no license while license suspended. I said I'd still send him the $150 if he paid the license restoration fee, which he has not done as far as I know, because no one's contacted me. I said I'd still pay it because I'm a man of my word. And so I jokingly said I once sent a couple $100 to a cat rescue mission. So, hey, how bad can that be? And what had happened was I had mentioned that I have T-shirts and coffee mugs that are available with the Lehto's Law logo on them. They're on Zazzle, Zazzle. And on Zazzle, you can go there and find the T-shirts and order them in your size, and you can order a coffee mug. And I stopped plugging it because it turns out that they'll sell like a $25 shirt and I get like $1. It's almost a scam. But I had people tell me they wanted these things. So I said, tell you what, I'm going to leave the site up. I should just shut it down, but I'm going to leave the site up. And if you want to buy the stuff, you can. But I'm not going to push it because I don't make anywhere enough money to make it worthwhile. But when I first announced that the page existed, I made a little bit over $100. And that's when they pay you. They send you a check anytime you break $100, which I've only done once in the entire time I've been on Zazzle. And so I jokingly said something to the effect of that the $100 ain't going to change my life to such an extent, I'll send it to the first good cause somebody notifies me about. And somebody sent me a note almost instantly and said, Steve, there's a cat rescue near my house that needs money. And I looked it up as a cat rescue. So I sent them a check and I said, hey, here's a check. And they sent me a thank you card. Very, very nice. And they're like, oh, yeah, we have no idea who you are, but thank you. They didn't say that, but I'm sure that's what they were thinking. Oh, boy. Gary Weisenberger says that Don Garlett's drag raced an EV. Did he? I wouldn't be surprised. The scary part now is those drag races, which they shortened because a quarter mile was way too long. They race 1,000 feet and the cars still go faster. It's crazy. Juan Peralta, have you considered doing a TEDx presentation regarding consumer protection and lemon law? May I mail you a booklet I self-publish? You can send me anything you want. Absolutely. Just send it to the P.O. box at the end of every video. I've never considered doing a TEDx presentation because I don't think what I'm doing is TEDx worthy. But then again, I've seen some stuff on TED Talks that I'm like, oh, okay. So Taco Cat says, Steve, why have only 6 people liked this video? Well, I'm looking, it says 376. There's 830 people in the room. So you may need to refresh Taco Cat. As Reinhard Man says, Taco Cat, refresh. Of course, Taco Cat's name is the same both frontwards and backwards. Taco Cat is, in fact, Taco Cat backwards. Sad Mountain Man, do the cats still need the money? I'm not sure. It was a couple years ago. I bet bought a bunch of cat food. Russell Warren says Predator Rescue. I love cats, but they don't care like a human or a dog. They're all serial killers. Yeah, and I do have issues with cats because a lot of people have cats they don't keep indoors. Oh, it's an outdoor cat. He wanted to go outside. And next thing you know, so now people are debating how many likes are on the video, and I'm looking at a live stream that says 434. 434. So if you guys have got different numbers, all I can tell you is that's probably you guys not having access to the same information I do as a creator. I don't know. Carl's Corner says, yeah, that's a palindrome. And so is this sentence. Satan, oscillate my metallic sonatas. Trust me on that. Oh, people now are showing numbers in the 440s. Taco Cat, the question is if his real name is Bob. $443 now and growing. Meow Cheese says, I'm glad I have a big property. My cats can roam around and not be a nuisance. And, you know, I'll admit, when I grew up, my family had a cat. We used to let the cat outdoors, and he stayed generally in our yard for the most part. And he lived to be 16. And he was a constant in my life when I was growing up. We got him when I was 4 or 5 years old. I remember getting him as a kitten, and I was just a child. And by the time he passed away, I was an adult, so I mean, he was there the entire time. And my parents got other cats after that. And these other cats kept getting hit by cars. And I was trying to explain to my parents that, Tommy was special because somehow he avoided traffic. These other cats you've got aren't special, apparently. And I feel bad because, some cats, the same reason raccoons and squirrels get hit. So, Robert Jones, do you have any more books for sale? The American Murder Houses book, absolutely. I might have some Tucker books also. If you want a Tucker book or a Murder Houses book, email me and I'll invoice you like that. So, KWLDWDTHE, the man. My pit bulls were good mousers. What's funny about that is cats, of course, are fascinated by mice. Most of them are. But I've seen dogs that both go crazy over small animals and some dogs that just don't care. And so you can go on the internet and find dogs playing with deer. And you can also find dogs going crazy because they see a deer. And I can tell you right now that Wolfie, my Shetland sheepdog they had years ago, loved the concept of the rabbit. And if he saw a rabbit, he would launch like a cruise missile. And you see the rabbit going like this, and all of a sudden, Wolfie honing in. And the problem is that the rabbits would run across the street, and Wolfie would stop at the property line because he was on an electric fence, an invisible fence. And he never caught the rabbit, but he tried. And so, I remember Milo, the other dog I had, looking at me and looking at Wolfie going like, why is he always doing that? Milo didn't care. Milo's like, okay, it's a rabbit, Wolfie. You're never going to catch it, so don't bother. Yeah, Snowball and Snowball 2, as VMC points out. The Simpsons had a bunch of cats that didn't make it, and so just started numbering them. I believe that was an idea of Lisa's to be efficient. Randall Muntz's Whippets are rat terriers. or Whippets and Rat Terriers are good for that. I actually know somebody who rescues greyhounds, and those are fascinating dogs. John Bauer, do attorneys get special parking spots at courthouses? Not that I'm aware of. I've never seen that. So, never seen that. George Dodson says, I've owned 67 cars in the past 33 years. That's when I got married and she counted. I can't help it. I have ADHD and I get bored easily. Okay. I counted how many cars I've owned in my life. I'm up in the 20s, I think, 20s or 30s. But it's only recently that I've got a couple that I'm hanging on to, that kind of thing. J. Paul says, hey, Steve, millennial cats aren't as smart as boomer cats. David Peterson, all the cats I had as an adult were defective. What I think is hilarious is that cats have some very odd personality traits which appear to be genetic. Like they love climbing inside like boxes and places where they can be jammed in there. I saw a cat climb into a fishbowl where the fishbowl appeared to be smaller than the cat. But of course, the cats are all fur. And the cat went in head first and then like curved around and stuck its head out. And so it's basically like the fishbowl is here and the cat's head sticking out. And the fishbowl is just jammed with cat. The cat was comfortable. And I got claustrophobia looking at it. And then, of course, cats love to knock stuff off of ledges. They see something on a ledge, they go over and they knock it off just to see what's going on. They're like doing like experiments in gravity or something. Believe in yourself. I remember riding my bikes as I watched my black lab go for a groundhog and get it. Yeah, I don't know if groundhogs will put up a fight. I know raccoons will. And I know people talk about hunting raccoons and they'll try to tree a raccoon and have dogs chase the raccoon up a tree. You got to hope that raccoon doesn't turn around and get in a fight with a dog because raccoons fight dirty. So, Louis Browning, I think you're referring to Smelly Cat. Shay 72 says cats are actually a form of liquid, not a solid. Earthbound Misfit, I'm 59, working on vehicle number 11. Yeah, I burned through a bunch of vehicles. I went through a phase where I was leasing a brand new Ford Explorer every year. Did that for a while. Cold Lake Alta says cats. I don't own pets which hold me in contempt. That's the funny thing. I've seen so many people who have cats that just appear to be like just lackadaisical and don't leave me alone. Tigerman 99515. But what was your best car ever? Depends on how you define that. I like my Viper a lot. I got a 99 Viper. And but I like the Charger I had in high school. I had a 69 Dodge Charger. And the feeling you have when you're 17 years old and you get yourself a 1969 Dodge Charger 1979. It's bright yellow with a black stripe. It's got a big block in it. It's pretty fast. It drinks gasoline like there's no tomorrow. And I drove that car for a couple of years, and pulling into the school parking lot in that car, you couldn't top that. That was such a great feeling. So, of course, that was a long time ago. So, it's a toss-up for me, but it's going to be either between the 69 Dodge Charger or the 99 Vipers I've got right now. So, Idea Spirit says, is that a Breitling IC? If you're looking here, yes, that's a Breitling Navitimer. I've had this one for about 20, 25 years. I keep thinking I might want to update it one of these days, but Breitling's got some design specifications I don't care for, some design cues. They don't like the actual numbers, the actual, real numbers on the face like this has right here. They like Roman numerals or hashes, and I don't like the hashes. I like the numbers. And so there's a couple models I really, really like, and I'm waiting for them to come back around again with one that's got the numbers on the face. So I might do that, but for the time being, I'll just keep wearing this one because I wear it every day. The only time I take this off when I'm outside is if I'm mountain biking or running. I don't like to wear it when I'm running. But if I'm just driving around or hanging out, I'm wearing the Breitling. Babylon Rose says we have a Maine Coon that we rescued behind a dumpster in Mount Shasta. She's a Sasquatch kitty. Those things can get big and hairy. Very, very hairy. Bongondor says Steve's favorite car was a Daytona with a timing belt. I keep meaning to look that up so I can talk about it more extensively. But it was a high performance engine with a dual overhead cam, and the timing belt was, a belt, not a chain. And the belts kept breaking. I got stranded more times like that. Prodigal Stranger likes Roman numerals. Oh, okay. you're free to like them if you choose. Mia's Tarot says live seeing you love. And I assume that's supposed to be love seeing you live. Chuck Whitehead says my dream car is 69 Dodge Charger General Lee, which is the same body style that mine was. Mine was yellow, not orange. Didn't have a flag on the roof. Mine had the vinyl top. They all came with a vinyl top. Vinyl top was standard. If you see one missing a vinyl top, it's either vinyl top delete or someone pulled it off to paint the car. So, and the 1982 Trans Am with the Knight Rider editions. Knight Rider. I went to an 80s fest in Frankenmuth, Michigan a few years ago. And one of the guests of honor was a Knight Rider kit sitting there, and it had ropes around it. You get your picture taken standing near kit, which I think I did, but I don't know where that picture is these days. Dane Who says 1968 Cutlass convertible, 71 GTO Judge, 74 Corvette convertible, hardtop roadster. Kurt says, when do we get a tour with the Cobra? I apologize. I tried shooting some stuff on the Cobra, and I ran into some issues. I changed cameras, and I got these really cool GoPro 12s, I think they are, that have built-in vibration reduction. So you can hold the camera and shake your hand, and the image is steady. Like it messes with your head. Now, I've had vibration reduction lenses before on cameras, but I've never seen one work this well on a video camera. So I mounted a couple of video cameras on the Cobra, took it for a ride, and I came back in there, and the pictures were framed badly, which is my fault. I've got to play with it. So probably in a week or two, I can shoot something else. But I have not done it yet. I shot one when I picked the car up, but not since then. Carlos, can we get a random story from when you drove a tow truck? I was just thinking about this the other day. I was watching a video on YouTube about somebody, and they mentioned a tow truck. And one of the things about when I was on call for the city of Birmingham, I worked at a gas station. And they would call the gas station during working hours. But between 10 in the evening and 6 in the morning, I was on call. So at 11 o'clock at night, there's an accident in Birmingham that needs a tow truck. They'd call my house, and I would answer the phone. And also on Sundays when we closed, I think it was 6 o'clock, same thing in the evening on Sundays. And I remember a couple of times where I was running around the house doing something else, and the phone rings. I pick up, we need a tow truck. And I remember thinking to myself, should I change or not? Because I'm like, I don't know, I can go like this. No one cares how I'm dressed. So I'm wearing, like, I don't know, jeans and a shirt, okay? So I run, get in my car, go to the gas station, get the tow truck, go to the wreck site, and it turns out that some car's bent up so badly, and I got to tow it from the front, and I'm reaching underneath it, and battery acid's dripping on me, gasoline's dripping on me, trans fluid is dripping on me, all kinds of stuff is dripping on me. And I remember destroying a couple of my favorite articles of clothing, including jeans and shirts that got ruined because battery acid dripped on them. And so something popped in my head last night. Hadn't thought about that in years. So Azaria Sky says, Crazy Town epilogue, whatever happened? I covered that, but I'll answer your question. I covered that in my 10-year anniversary special. I did a video in honor of me being on YouTube for 10 years. And in that video, I mentioned that I never did an epilogue. And there's a reason why. Because I was one of the people involved in that lawsuit. But there were like 5 other people who got sued also. And so the weird thing is that when we're all being sued and discussing our defenses and so on, everyone's all ticked off. I'm like, yes, we need to go after this attorney who filed this piece of garbage. And when the case got dismissed and thrown out, largely because my attorney and another attorney filed a motion and got the entire thing thrown out, I then waited a little while, and then I called up some of the other people and said, hey, I'm about to file this action against this attorney. What are your thoughts? And at least one of the people said, I'd rather you didn't do that. because I just want to get this behind me and move on with my life. And they said, will I have to? Yeah. And I said, yeah, you will probably have to testify. You'll probably have to answer questions. You may have to, turn over some documentation. And I had at least one person, I think maybe two, who said, I'd rather you didn't do that. And I never imagined that that was a possibility. So that attorney dodged a bullet because she would have gotten in trouble. It was beyond frivolous. The lawsuit was. So Canadian Robot Lady says, my favorite tow truck story from Steve is the tree and the piano stories. Great video. Wait, what's the tree story? I'm not sure about that. And by the way, the Canadian Robot Lady is in the house. But the piano, of course, is it's over my shoulder here. See that? Texas, piano tow. That's a joke in reference to the time I towed a piano. Had a piano fall off of a dump truck right in front of the gas station. Had to hook it up and drag it to the impound yard, and on the way it caught fire. True story. Oh, and by the way, I got a message the other day from somebody who goes, Steve, just wanted to let you know, I know you make up all these stories, but I still enjoy your channel. Make up what stories? What? STP World said Lisa had the cat named Cool Train that jumped out the window when she played the sax. Yeah, I believe it was a running joke that several of their cats died in ways that could be construed as almost like they killed themselves. So DePaul is pointing out that generally speaking in the United States, the call signs are assigned to radio stations by the FCC, and east of the Mississippi, they tend to start with W, and west of the Mississippi, they tend to start with K. However, there are exceptions to those rules, but generally speaking, if you're driving someplace and you don't know which side of the Mississippi you're on, and you hear a local radio station go, hey, you're listening to WKNX Saginaw, it's probably east of the Mississippi, because it was. Canada generally starts theirs with C, but I know that there's a couple exceptions, and I forgot what the other exceptions are. CRL can probably tell us because she worked in Canadian radio, but that's the general thing. And in the old days, the FCC is very, very strict that you had to ID yourself at the top of the hour or as close as you could get practically and say the name of the radio station call letters and the city of license separated by nothing else. So you were required to say at the top of the hour, WKNX Saginaw. And you couldn't say WKNX in Saginaw. And so you'd hear something like WHNN, Bay City, Saginaw, Midland, Flint. Wait, Flint? What? Oh, because the first one they said was Bay City. WHNN, Bay City, Saginaw, Midland, Flint. They want you to think they're in all these places. And the FCC has loosened up on that a little bit. So Jay Paul says CKWW. There's also CKLW, Fred Hoyt points out, which was the Big 8 out of Windsor, but a very popular radio station when I was growing up. I remember that vividly, how powerful CKLW was. They were huge. Melissa Thompson, did you go see Eminem play live a few nights ago at the big train station unveiling? No, I did not. Michigan Central Station was saved, in essence, by Ford Motor Company, who bought it and refurbished it. And they unveiled it to the public with a big concert a couple nights ago. A bunch of people showed up, including Eminem, who helped put the show together. But I did not go down there and see it. So Lewis Browning says 7 minutes before and 7 minutes after. Don't forget that CKLW had 2020 news. And what they would do is they had news 20 minutes after the hour and then 20 minutes to the top. But they would not have news at the top because most people in radio considered the top half of the hour to be sacred for fear that if they played or did something near the top of the hour you didn't like, you'd tune out. And if somebody asked you, who are you listening to at 3 o'clock? You go, oh, whoever you went to. So they wanted you to be there near the top of the hour. That was vital. And many of them consider it still to be vital. Jim Aragon, Steve, you lived in Michigan. Why'd you go to law school in California? If you don't mind saying, which law school did you go to? I've talked about this many times, but not recently. I went to law school at a place called Southwestern University School of Law. Very, very well-known, a large school in Los Angeles. It is very, very well-known in California. It's kind of like Wayne State is in Detroit, where people outside of Michigan might not have heard of Wayne State, but everybody in Michigan has. Southwestern is very, very well-known in California. I went there because they have a 2-year law program, and it's a curriculum designed to be done in 2 years. So you show up on first day in July and have a class, and it was like 23 or 22 months later, you're done. Literally, you're done. And so I, at the time in my life, thought, I want to get this over with. I know how my attention span is. So I went to California, got my law degree in 2 years, and came right back. I had no intention of going to California and staying. And I lived there for a couple of years, and I got it out of my system. Had a lot of fun out there, saw a lot of cool stuff, but I would not want to live there full time. And my apologies to people who do. That's fine. I've always enjoyed Michigan. So, G Keyman says, why are comments in slow mode? What, you can't read fast enough? If I put them with no limit on them, they will go by so fast nobody can read them. And so I've got 811 people in the room right now. And I've had it before where I'd put no limits on them whatsoever. And it's going by, it actually distracts me. So, Pat Z, where does a CRL get her phrases at the end of the videos? I wait to listen to them. Thank you very much. I'll thank you on her behalf. Many of them are sent into us. And if you send them to me, I'll pass them along to her. And some of them I give her and say, I'd really like you to say this. The other day she did one. It was a quote from an Elvis Costello song. I believe it was the damage that we do and never know. It's the words that we don't say that scare me so. And so, there's no science to them, but she does curate them, as we say. Weston, have you seen much of Northern California? No, I have not. I apologize. And I admit that. I was out there for school, and I was like laser focused on, I am going to do this. I did go to Mount Whitney for a weekend and did that. I did make it down to San Diego, made it up to San Francisco, but just for short visits, and saw some other stuff, but did not really get out there and explore. And so I never made it to Northern California. I never made it to Oregon or Washington, which I really would have liked to have done. I wanted to, but I was so busy and I was so focused. And I've been back a couple times since then. But Lowell Rigsium says, I'm still here. I always enjoy this. Well, thank you very much. Kelly Kaku Koten says, I've already asked like 50 questions, just random questions, just on my own. And Kitty Robot Lady says, I scour the internet for outros. DePaul says, CKLW comes in loud and clear at night in New York City. Yes, and that's their clear channel station at 800 a.m. and 50,000 watts, 24 hours a day. Unless they're more powerful than that, I don't know. But the question is, what are they playing now? I don't even know. Are they talk now? I don't even know. So MHOH is unfair. We have to get through the ads to get to the CRL outro. If you're talking about the ads that I do, I hope you don't mind me doing one ad per month right now. Or occasionally two, but I've never done more than 2 ads in a month. Bob Lob says, but you kind of like the music. Kurt, Navy Pier in San Diego. Don't think I made it there. Celestial 476 just got into the channel in the last couple weeks. A mechanic myself. I love the car stories. Thank you very much. And that's the funniest part of all, is that I see some names in here that I really actually see. Bob is a good friend of mine. I know Bob. I've known Bob for years. And Lowell Rigsium, I recognize the name. And Gilbert, of course, And so I know all these people, and I always forget that there's going to be somebody out there who literally just tuned in right now and said, who's this guy and why is he talking? Or in the last couple of weeks. But I appreciate that too. I really do. So Scott Summers used to like WHNN when it was an oldies station, when Johnny was there. Johnny Burke, of course, worked there for a long time. I worked with Johnny Burke at WTRX in Flint back in the 1980s. Really, really nice guy, just a fixture, institution in the Flint, Saginaw area, that corridor there. Big radio market. And Johnny Burke's been around for a million years, got one of the most recognizable voices in this entire area. And I worked with him at WTRX in Flint. And then I have listened to him on the radio. And right now he's on a classic rock station. I forgot the call letters out of Flint. JJ, have you ever been licensed anywhere else? Not to practice law? No. And not to drive a car either. Oh, no, I've been licensed to practice car elsewhere. But not to practice law. So Lowell Rigsium, what's the craziest thing someone has asked you to help with? It's sad because, and I hate to say this, because it's one of these things that won't help you to know, but the wildest case that anyone ever brought to me, I said, I will take this case. And the potential client said, well, I have a little problem because I don't think you quite believe something I'm telling you. And I said, I don't. I'm being honest with you, but it's not necessary. I can take this case and I can win it. And the client said, no, I'm sorry, I can't hire you, and walked out the door and never filed the case. So that's one I wish I could talk about all day long, but I can't. So Eric, please, Steve, make an effort to visit beautiful sites in Northern California, and I'll put Michigan on my list. Okay, it's a deal. Easy one's got a spare room in Vancouver. Use it for a few nights. R. Dylan 517 says, you make respect for lawyers. I appreciate that. And I actually have told people say, Steve, what do you try to do with your channel? What are you doing on your channel? I had somebody just the other day go, what's your channel about? And I go, well, I'm a lawyer and I talk about stuff in the news and I talk about it legally, but in plain English, so that, I've seen a lawyer who can't shift out of that lawyer mentality. And I've seen that. And I'm trying to instead take the legal stuff and make it completely accessible to anybody who speaks decent English, plain English. And among other things, though, I'm also trying to point out that there's a lot of lawyers out there, and they're all over the spectrum. And I have people go, oh, all lawyers are evil. Well, I guess you think I'm evil then, because I'm a lawyer, right? So if I can get you to respect lawyers on some level, I will consider that to be a useful thing. Juan Peralta says, is there any desire to shift from sophisticated legalese to plain English in all aspects of law? There is a huge shift. There's a huge push on that. And yes, they're trying really, really hard. Like the Michigan Bar Association puts out a magazine called the Michigan Bar Journal. And they actually have a column in every issue on plain English. And they've got a guy who's a professor of legal writing, and he does a different article every single month on how you can stop writing like an attorney and writing like a normal person. And, I used to talk to my students about this. I taught trial practice for 10 years. And I'd say to them, you guys just spent all these years in law school learning all this legal stuff. When you stand up in front of a jury, you got to start speaking normal English. And so I'd have students go up and go, well, prior to that, what happened? And I go, excuse me, you mean before that? And they go, what? Before. No one but an attorney says prior to that or subsequent to that. I've actually seen somebody who's asked, and subsequently what happened? Oh, after, you mean? Yes. And so you need to learn how to think both ways, because of the fact that law books are filled with the legalese. You got to read it and understand it. But if you need to explain to a client or a jury or a reporter, you got to learn to speak in plain English. So Mike Lackner says, your ads are the least intrusive of what I watch. Thank you. And I do that on purpose. I put my video ads at the end of the video. I warn you up front, it says me ad at the end of the video. And then when the video ends, you're free to shut it off and walk away. And I tell advertisers, and I have an agent, by the way, and I've told him, I said, when you're approached by somebody who says, I want to advertise on Steve Lehto's channel, okay, what you need to do is tell them that you won't even approach me unless they agree in advance that if we strike a deal, that ad goes at the end of the video. And I still turned down most of them. Turned down 2 last week. J. Paul, where was and what was on your last pizza? And you're not even unless you had anchovies. I don't think I've even tried anchovies. I tend to go with the basics. I don't like lots of stuff on the pizzas. Pepperoni, ham. I do like mushrooms in moderation. And also I can do like a meat lover's pizza is pretty good. But I actually like Pizza Hut pizza. The pan pizzas, I like those. But there's a few carryout places that I know of where it's just a one-off. It's just one carryout place, and they do great work, and I frequent them a lot. I'd rather do the mom and pop place than the chain places if I can. And in fact, the last time I ordered from a chain place, I had a really, really weird thing happen where they promised that the pizza would be in like 15 minutes. And like an hour later, I called, where's my pizza? And they said, oh, it's on its way. I said, if it's on its way right now, it's 45 minutes later than what you promised. And the manager said, don't worry about it. It's on its way. And another half hour went by. And I called back and goes, where's my pizza now? And the woman goes, it's on its way. And I said, you told me that a half hour ago or whatever it was. And I go, correct me if I'm wrong, but I ordered this pizza like 2 hours ago. Where is my pizza? And she goes, well, we'll get a pizza out to you right now. And it's free. Which led me to believe that they hadn't even made my pizza yet. They hadn't. They lied to me. So this guy shows up 20 minutes later with a pizza. And I walk out to meet the guy. And before I can say a word, he goes, I am so sorry. It's not my fault. I go, dude, I know it's not your fault. I go, you guys are overwhelmed. He goes, it's worse than that. He goes, our manager refuses to admit when we're overwhelmed, and she insists on taking orders and lying to people. That's what the delivery guy told me. He goes, she'll take orders all day long that we cannot fulfill within like an hour and a half. She doesn't care. I'm like, oh my God. So I tipped him because he's just doing his job. I got the pizza for free, and I have not ordered from them since 3 years ago. And I remember these things. Don't get me going about Bad Axe and the McDonald's. Patrick DK77 live streams. How did I miss this? I've been doing live streams now on this channel for, I looked back, it's like 6 months now, something like that. So, yeah, live streams. They tend to be Sundays at 1 o'clock. And I'm going to have to quit at 2:30. Like I mentioned, I'm going to a concert. We'll talk more about that next week. Trust me, it's going to be a cool show. Blue Freaker puts up the old pineapple, and I believe he's trying to start an argument about whether or not pineapple belongs on pizza. I have no problem with pineapple on pizza. I have no problem with it. I don't care, and I'm not offended, by the way, of what you put on your pizza. Okay, I'm a I'm a pizza libertarian. I believe that you can put anything you want in your pizza, as long as I can put what I want on mine. My brother used to work at a pizza place. He said about midnight, you get these drunken phone calls. I want a pizza with everything, man. He goes, you understand we got like 23 things here, including like he starts labeling off the things that nobody wants, And oh, I guess not. But Carlos, what happened at the McDonald's in Bad Axe? I got food poisoning while I was on the air. Guy ran to Bad Axe, McDonald's, brought back the station, ate it, and within an hour or two, I was like in bad shape. A few hours later. And I called the McDonald's and I got the manager and I said, hey, just want to let you know, I got some food there earlier today and I think I got food poisoning. He goes, so what? I said, I thought you should know. And he goes, okay, so now I know. And he hung up on me. Now, I could have gone on the radio and said, hey, everybody, let me describe to you what my body's doing right now and let you understand that it happened to me because I went and just ate at McDonald's. I didn't. I did not eat at a McDonald's for over 10 years. It was over 10 years before I ate at a McDonald's. And a couple of years ago, I drove my Viper up to Bad Axe. And on a whim, I decided to go through the drive-thru at Bad Axe and order chicken nuggets, which is what got me sick in the first place. So I thought, this is how I'm going to end this saga. So someplace on one of my channels is me going for a ride in a Viper in Bad Axe, narrating all the places I'm driving by. And let's go to McDonald's and get some chicken nuggets. So Wade Pittenger points out that I agree to everything pizza because I'm in the pocket of big pizza. There's so much history to this channel now, 'cause I've been doing it for 10 years, that somebody didn't like a comment I made about Sam Crack's pizza car. And they go, that's such a stupid thing you said. You must be in the pocket of big pizza. And I don't know if they're joking or not. And then a viewer made a graphic that was of me wearing a shirt or something that had big pizza on the pocket, but then it faded out and faded into a normal picture of me. And so I put that at the beginning of another video. And most people got the joke. But I forgot about the big pizza comment. Oh boy. Oh. Um, Gus Christensen's Jets Pizza is local. Yeah, Jets Pizza. You know, there's a whole bunch of pizza places that have roots in Michigan. I think isn't Jets one of them? Obviously, Domino's, Little Caesars, Hungry Howie's are all, I believe, headquartered in Michigan. Perishable Goods 13. My oldest son is managing at a Pizza Hut right now, Middleburg Heights, Ohio. Yeah, it's been a couple years since I sat down in one. I think I sat down in a Pizza Hut most recently in Escanaba a couple years ago. Sub GR77 says, I missed the Grand Blanc Inn. You know, they had really good pizza. And I know that because I had pizza there back in about 1987 or 86. It lasted much longer than that, but somewhere along the line, it got torn down. And I've had friends tell me that they're putting in a gas station there, as if the area needs more gas stations. But that's in, obviously, Grand Blanc. It's the Grand Blanc Inn. But I used to drive through Grand Blanc to get to my different radio stations I worked at, because I always lived down towards Detroit. I would drive up I-75, which now I know does not go to the Florida Keys. Yeah, Pieces Jets was in Sterling Heights, I believe. Kalakaku Koten says, what did you think of the Pizza the Hut character in a Spaceballs movie? Well, it's a great play on words. Jabba the Hutt and Pizza the Hut. Was it too disgusting for the screen? You know, it's been so long, I'm not sure. Nicole Schramm, BC Pizza is from Boyne City. I don't think I've ever had that. Drew 6167 saw a clip of you speaking about the Chrysler Turbine car online. What film were you featured in? Go to YouTube and type in Haggerty, like the insurance company, Haggerty, Hagerty, Haggerty, then Turbine Car, Haggerty Turbine Car. You'll find a video produced by the Haggerty Foundation. I'm in it. My brother's in it. Jay Leno's in it. Jay's Turbine Car is in it extensively, as is the Stahl Museum Turbine Car. And we tell the whole story of the Turbine Car program, and then it ends with Jay talking about the woes he's had with his because the engine fried. And my brother's in it explaining how I roped him into helping Jay fix his Turbine Car engine, which they've now been working on for over 2 years. They're getting closer. They're getting closer. That's all I can tell you. But they're going to get there. So Charlton Zimmerman says, my family got sick off of ice cream from Schwann's years ago, and I got $20 from a class action. There must have been, I know there's a couple things. I think ice cream is one of them that is susceptible to certain kinds of bacteria if it's not packaged properly. Easy one. Have you ever seen The Who in concert? No, I have not. I've got friends who've seen them. I have not. What show are you going to tonight? I'm going to see Aussie Pink Floyd. Aussie Pink Floyd. Because Aussie Pink Floyd is a band out of Australia, and they play Pink Floyd music, and they do it so well that they were at least at one point hired to play the birthday party of one of the members of Pink Floyd. And Pink Floyd, of course, does not tour that much. In fact, in the old days, they didn't tour much at all, and they don't tour right now at all. So I don't think Pink Floyd minds these guys are going around because they do it so well. So we'll see how it goes. Janice Ellery says Listeria. Is that one of the ones that pops up in ice cream? Tickled Funny Bone. I remember the Blue Bunny ice cream case. I was trying to remember what it was. Were people taking the lids off and licking the ice cream as part of a TikTok stunt or something? Sub GR says, I've seen videos of Aussie Pink Floyd. Go to YouTube, type in Aussie Pink Floyd, find one of the professionally shot videos of them on stage and listen to it. And you're going to realize, you're going to think, oh, I'm listening to the record while these guys are playing. No, they're reproducing it note for note. That's how good they are. So Art asks, are you just an American car guy, or do you like other things like Ferraris? Oh, I love a lot of old cars. I love Ferraris. A Ferrari GTO is a beautiful car. I've seen some Lamborghinis I like. I also like some of the older cars, the Bugattis and so on. I've never owned a foreign car, and it probably will be a long time before I ever do. So, Brandon H, Roger Waters, and David still tour. I'm not sure how much. I'm not sure much. Little Licking was Bluebell. Bluebell. I may have gotten the name wrong. Joshua, Gwen, and thank you. Gilbert says Gilbert's Ice Cream in Marquette, gone now, bought by Dean Foods. The question is, when they get bought, do they keep it the same or do they change it? Something else. The Prodigal Stranger says Sid Barrett was the real Pink Floyd. Oh, Patrick Hill says check out Leonid and Friends, fantastic Chicago cover. That's another great band. There's a couple groups of people who do that on YouTube, and I don't know if Leonid tours or not, but remarkable stuff. There's also a guy, and I forgot his name, but he did Bohemian Rhapsody by himself, and he filmed it himself, and he has it on screen every single thing he's doing. So when he's playing the piano part, you can see him playing the piano part. If the bass is playing, you can see him playing the bass part. And at parts, he's like, doing 16 parts simultaneously. So it's amazing. I'm not a musician, and just figuring out how to do that and make it work really took a lot of thought and a lot of effort. So John says, I saw ELO with Jeff Lynne, and they were fantastic. I'm going to see Jeff Lynne and ELO in October in Detroit. I got front row seats. Thank you very much. And I'm also going to see Cyndi Lauper. A couple weeks later, she's playing the Fox in Detroit, a much smaller place. But it's allegedly her farewell tour. Allegedly. A lot of artists claim that, and it but I'm not going to see her just because it's a farewell tour. I'm going to see her because I like her as an artist. I think she's great. For the two, says I always liked Cold Stone. So do I, but they're hard to find in my parts. But I like them a lot. J. Paul, have you ever said I'm a lawyer to anyone in rebuttal? A couple times, but only when it was extremely ironic and appropriate. I once went into a car dealership that had worked on my car. And yeah, I made a mistake. I had a car dealership working on my car. But it's a complicated story. But I had a dealership near my office, and someone told me they were good. So I took my car there to be worked on. I went to pick it up, and I asked the guy, can I see my old brake discs? The guy goes, no, we didn't save those. And I go, why not? He goes, we're not required to. And I lean back, and directly behind him is a sign that says, notice to consumers, we are required by state law to save all parts from all vehicles worked on and show them to you upon request. If parts are too large to show to you, we must hold them for 3 days so you can look at them. And then, we send them back for court deposit. And I go, notice to consumer. And I start reading that sign. It's directly, like, his head was blocking the sign that says this. It's in point. It's this big. It's this big. You're entitled to all parts. And he looks at it like he's never seen it before. Then he looks at me and he goes, so what? And I go, dude, I'm a lawyer. And I pulled my card up, put it in the counter. I go, guess what I do for a living? And he goes, what? And I go, I sue car dealerships. He goes, hang on. And he disappeared. And a manager came out and found me. He goes, can I help you? And I go, yeah, I want to see the brake parts for my brake job. And he goes, we don't have those. I pointed at the sign. I go, dude, you put that sign. I didn't put that sign there. You put that sign there. What does it say? Read it to me. And he goes, hang on. And he goes back and he finds the guy who did my brake job. And luckily, the guy had thrown the stuff in the corner, and he digs it out. And there's a stack of brake discs there, but they found the two off my car. I just wanted to look at him. It's like, see, are you happy now? And I'm like, dude, I'm not the jerk for asking you if I can see the parts off my car. You're the jackass for putting a sign up that everyone can see and then gaslighting consumers by going, that's not what that says. No. Yes, it's written in plain English to support the other people here who asked about plain English. I can read it. I know what it says. you know? And so, yes, I've sued that dealership before, and I'll probably sue them again, but I didn't sue them over that. I just wanted to see my old parts, which I'm entitled to see by state law. Michigan's Motor Vehicle Service and Repair Act, MCL 257 1333 at SEC. But I could be guessing on that. I might be wrong, but I'm not. Anyway, it's 2:30 my time. I've got to go. I'm going to see Aussie Pink Floyd tonight. We'll talk about that next week. And meanwhile, Hylobius News checks in from Poland. So thank you very much. I just saw that. But I'm going to see the show tonight. I'll talk about it next week, if not sooner, in a Vault video maybe. And until then, everyone behave yourself. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.